Alright, I hope we are live right now because I don't see the footage. There we go.
Okay,
Good
cool.
old.
I see it. I see it.
There we go. Thank you, YouTube, for that. But while we are, I guess, having some buffering issues going on, it could be me, could be YouTube, or a combination thereof. Welcome to our latest episode, talking about motivations in gameplay. As we're going to be breaking down games that we've played in terms of how they motivate somebody to keep playing. And oof, I can see my OBS is like cutting in and out. Well, hopefully things will be preserved. It's been incredibly windy over here, so I'm hoping nothing.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Nothing bad will happen, as we always say around here. But joining me as always for this series is Silas, who is currently working on the game Revn, and at this moment he is I think halfway through the Indiegogo campaign for it. How is everything happening?
Yeah, it's been incredible. We're about halfway through our time for the Indiegogo. We've got, I think, like 30 days left, and we are already 43% funded, which is just absolutely insane to me. If you had told me 3 years ago that I'd be doing this and that we'd be this successful, that we'd be making this much progress, I'm not sure I would have believed you. But it's real. It's happening. We're making so much progress, community support, and just like everyone's coming out and saying that they really like what we're doing and they want to see it succeed. Like that's just been so motivating to me and the rest of the team.
Yep, definitely congratulations on that. I know you survived your recent 24-hour stream as well.
I did, yes, to celebrate the first $1,000 that we raised. We did a 24-hour live stream on Twitch, on my Twitch channel. Some of our community members joined me, some of the guys that had donated lots and lots of money to help the campaign get that far. They stayed up for almost all 24 hours. Some of them passed out at the very end. I think they left me for the last 2 hours. I was on my own. So I'm going to have to forgive them for that, seeing as they made that stream possible. But that was a lot of fun. We played a lot of Revn. We talked about the game. We also took a good Legends that day. I've been getting back into that game. It's like an addiction. I really like it though because it's a MOBA. Revn's a MOBA. I like MOBAs in general, so it's been really good to go back and just like thoroughly enjoy playing someone else's game and really getting sucked into it. And it's something that I think a lot of my community has been doing alongside me. We all kind of play League and we kind of we enjoy it, but we also get to talk about like the differences between it and Revn, because Revn is also a MOBA, but a very different type of MOBA.
Yep. For sure. And for those of you new watching us for this episode, once a month we like to do this kind of chat to discuss kind of what goes into the motivation aspects of a game, kind of what systems or theme a game has that keeps somebody engaged and coming back to it, and seeing what we can learn about a game or about its gameplay through it. And if you have any suggestions for games for us to tackle in a future show, let us know in the comments below. But I have been incredibly busy, of course, buying more games that I don't have the time to play. I think in 1 week I bought 40 games through sales, bundles, and whatnot. So I have a post-play.
Don't we all? We all do that.
I believe I have become Burgess Meredith from the Twilight Zone episode when there's not enough time. That's going to be me. That's actually going to be the image I'll be using for a post that's going up probably tomorrow as well, about having this infinite backlog of games. Oh, and now the glare's... For once, I don't have the crazy glare. It's great.
I know. I think it's getting late. The sun is just chill. Let me see if I can... I looked at that. There we go. I looked at the stream and like half my face was just pure white. All right, yeah, that looks a little better now.
All right. So, for this month, we're going to stick with 2 games, as I know everyone has been busy, and we'll try to keep this like probably about 40 minutes to an hour, I think, for this chat. Yep. So, we have 2 games, one that I've played and one that Silas has played. So, any preference from you, which one we should talk about?
Josh, let's start with your game. I don't think I've ever heard of it or played it, so I want to learn about it.
All right. So the game that I've been playing kind of on and off stream has been the shmups from Cave. Cave is considered one of the more premier developers of the shmup, and we are talking about 100% bullet hell craziness. Hitboxes where millimeters of space at a time will determine whether or not you'll be able to dodge a shot. And they have been making these games for a very long time. And the ones that I picked up on sale, let me see if I can grab it here, or they used to be on sale, part of their Cave Shmup bundle. It was a Dodonpachi Resurrection, oh, this is a good one, Mushihimsama, I'm completely butchered that one, and Death Smiles, which, not sure why that one was the easy one of the three in terms of their naming. But they have been considered one of, if not, the premier developer of this kind of bullet hell shmup. So if you're familiar with stuff like R-Type, Gradius, Sign Moria from a few years ago, this company kind of makes, like, the extreme of these games.
Okay. I honestly haven't played a lot of bullet hells. It's a genre that I never really got into. Obviously, I know what they are. I'm aware of them. I think I'm more familiar with the bullet hell segments in other games than I am with playing like a full-on bullet hell. So I guess I'm really interested to kind of learn more about them. Yeah.
All right. So, if you want to pull up the, we saw that chart.
I do. I have our amazing chart. Let's do.
There we go.
This is our chart. Our blueprint for analyzing what makes people play a game or why they enjoy playing a game.
Broken down into 4 different categories, and the chart is not meant to represent good or bad. Like, having high marks in any category doesn't magically make your game better. It just means your game has more of that specific category.
Right. It's about when you are designing the game, when you're making decisions about how the game works, what things are important to you. What is important to your players? Are they playing your game because they like this? So should you spend a lot of time and resources making that thing, or should it just sort of be a passing thought? So for shmups, for these cave shooters you're talking about, I guess I wanted to start by asking you: are these games skilled? I think I know the answer to this. Are these skill-based games?
Oh yes, this is definitely as much as you can go in them. Now they have different difficulty settings that can make things either easier or harder for you, but even the normal, and I use air quotes there, normal difficulty is still going to pretty much kill most normal players. I mean, these games were designed for the arcade, so they were meant to be quarter crunchers.
All right, well, let's say that skill is like these games are all about skill, right? I think that'd be fair to say they're all about skill. You want to if they weren't about skill, people wouldn't be playing them, right?
Yep.
Do they have ways of playing it where you can get through it without being good at it? Does it have a less skill section to it, or is it really just all about skill?
They do, again, they have the various difficulty settings. They have essentially different modes for how you can play the game.
Okay, so there are difficulty settings. Yes. So maybe we'll say that they put some thought into, hey, you're not the best person at bullet hells, but you still want to play the game. There's something there for it, right? Okay. What about work? Is it a lot of doing the same thing over and over again? Is it grindy? Is it repetitive? Are the levels repeatable? Do you repeat the levels to like a lot? How does that work?
Well, it is a pure arcade experience, so it is kind of meant that you're going to play through, I think it's like 5 or 6 levels. That's the end of the game, and it's really about score chasing. Especially with the Steam versions, where they basically give you infinite continues, which I don't think I could have actually beaten a few of them on the higher settings without having infinite lives at one point. There's like one boss who you have to survive for at least 5 seconds before you can even hurt him, and every time you die, it resets that counter.
Oh my god.
So basically, if we were going by quarter value, I think I wasted like $20 in like 5 minutes on that one fight.
I wonder if there are actual games released on Steam where that's the payment model. Like, I wonder if it would be possible to make a game. Like, it's just a crazy thought experiment here, but like, I wonder if someone could make a game, with that arcade experience of you buy, maybe you get the game for free, right? Like, the game's free, and you get, 3 tries or whatever, right? And then after that, you have to pay for additional lives, and it's like a quarter. It's 25 cents. Excuse me 1 second. I need to turn on streamer mode so I stop getting notifications. So say you have a game on Steam, and you get like 3 tries, and after that you have to pay 25 cents per try as like a DLC microtransaction purchase. I wonder if people would actually buy that if the gameplay was like really good. I feel like it would be a really hard sell.
Yeah.
But I am curious if people would play it just for the novelty of having to pay for lives. I'm very interested to see how that would work out. So anyway, it sounds like, yes, there is a bit of doing the levels over and over again to get good at them, to pass them, right? Would you say it's like 30? Like this? Is it like that 30%, or is it like 60%?
I would say it's tough because it is, again, a genre that is known for very few levels, but the master required to get for high score chasing is, up there.
All right. Let's just kind of put it right in the middle. Let's just put it like right there. It's a gradient. So all right. So maybe that's sort of like the motivation for that. It's all about skill, and it's a bit of doing the same thing over and over again. Okay. Let's talk about this segment here. Is there a multiplayer component to this game?
Yes, you can play with 2 players.
Okay, so it has that. Good to know. You can also play by yourself, correct? Okay. Is the game designed around co-op, or multiplayer, or is it designed around the single player experience? Do you think? Is there one that's more through the design? It's apparent that was the intended way to play it, or the way that they focused on it.
I think it is kind of, well, with it being bullet hell, having a second player is really not going to be that big of a difference. Like, you're going to be concentrating on your ship no matter what. And
Okay.
I don't know how much it really scales for multiplayer, because I haven't had a chance to check that out.
Okay. All right. So what do you feel? Is it like, where do you think it fits on this axis?
I would say like 1 for multiplayer. It has it, but it's not really like anything special. Like, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to be what sells you on the game.
Okay. So it would be more predominantly single player. Is it a calm game, or is it a thrilling game? Is it both? Does it have both elements? I imagine it's a very thrilling game. I imagine it's very intense. You're sweating bullets, so to speak.
Yeah, this would be, I think, all the way for thrilling, because
Okay.
the first level of these games is never really that bad, and now the sun is blinding me all of a sudden. Let me see if I can move myself forward.
Oh my god.
But it is a game where basically past the second level, the screen just becomes death. Like, it's just, again, like, the amount of space you have to dodge can be measured in millimeters. Like, we're talking like hitbox manipulation just to like barely get through some of these stages without taking a hit. And people have done it.
What about are there more peaceful sections? Are there rest areas, or is it just like full on intensity all the time?
Yeah, like, these are stages designed to be very short and just hit you with, like
everything they got right away.
Yeah,
okay.
Orchestra of death all around the player.
All right.
Like, this is not the game that you want to play if you had a tough day at work and you want to unwind, basically.
Okay. What about story? Is there a story to these games?
That is the weirdest thing. Like, every shmup seems to have this existential philosophical story that goes on behind the scenes that
Oh
has
wow, okay.
no reference to what's happening on screen. Like, that is
Okay,
like the
it has it.
craziest thing.
It has a story. Do people play these games because they want to learn about the story, or is it just kind of there?
I think that's one of those that depends on who you talk to. Like, one of them is a story about, for some reason, you play as a group of magical girls who have shmup powers and they're trying to kill demons. So it's all these, like, cute girls, like, flying around and just murdering everybody. And there's apparently this elaborate story as to why they're stuck here doing it.
Okay, we'll say that they put some time into it. The story is it's not just there. Like it sounds like they cared about making it good. It's not like the primary motivation for the game. They weren't aiming to win any awards, but they're like, hey, the story's good. They put some time into it. They didn't just like say, oh yeah, we have it.
Like, they're trying to rationalize the fact that we're just murdering, like, 10 billion things per game.
Right. Okay. When you play multiplayer, is it cooperative?
Yes.
Okay,
Definitely
so
cool.
cooperative. It has cooperative elements if you're playing multiplayer.
Yeah.
Is the game designed around that multiplayer? Is there like synergy, like things you can do, or is it just kind of like you both are doing the same thing? It goes better if it's two people.
Yeah, I think more like that.
Okay.
Like, it's not
okay.
designed around like that kind of like synergy, or like I can shoot my gun at your ship and will do enhanced damage or something special like that.
Okay. Combat sounds like the game is totally combat focused. It's
Yeah.
all about the combat. If the combat was so, they're aiming to be best in class for their type of combat, right?
Yeah.
They're aiming for best in class bullet hell combat.
Yeah, but the thing that makes cave shooters like kind of like distinctive is that they really go for very elaborate score systems. That it's not just about you beating a level; it's about you getting A rank or topping the leaderboard. And they have these various subsystems in play that allow you to earn more points or have like a risk reward kind of system. Like the more you kill an enemy, the more it builds up a meter. When that meter fills up, you can enter kind of like a super time that lets you destroy bullets and gain like 100% more bonus points.
Okay. What about mechanics? What are we talking about for mechanics? Is it what are the things that you're doing as a player? What inputs are you giving? What actions are you taking?
You are basically flying around and shooting lots and lots of enemies. They do have, like, you can shoot different, how shall I put, like, there's different firing modes. So you have a weaker, but you're able to move around a lot more, and then you have a slower shot, or you have a shot that's more powerful, but it slows your ship down. So it's supposed to be kind of like a risk reward, if I'm good, I can do, like, 3 times more damage, but if the screen just completely fills with bullets, there's no way I'm going to dodge all that.
Okay. How do you feel about the mechanics, and how would you rate the importance of mechanics to a shmups player?
Definitely a 2. I don't know if I would push it to a 3 or not. Again, these games are they are mechanically and gameplay focused, but there's not. It's very weird. It's like there's more of a skill ceiling than there is a mechanical ceiling. I think, like as a point of contrast, if we talk about RPG heavy games where it's about you mastering every aspect of these systems to make your character the best, the cave shooters don't do that. But they are a step above, something like R-Type or a lot of the older shoot 'em ups.
Okay. That makes sense. And then the final grid, fantasy versus realism. Is this game realistic? Does it have realistic elements? Nothing. Okay.
No, like again, one of the games is magical girls flying around murdering demons with 10 billion bullets. There.
All right. So fantasy. It's definitely fantasy. It's totally fantasy. What about exploration? Are you exploring the world?
No, not really. It is a linear track for each level.
Linear track. Okay. And then Building. Are you changing things in the world while you go through it?
No, not really.
No,
Again,
not really.
yeah, the world is static. It's just basically, it basically serves as the backdrop for screens of bullet-filled death.
Okay. So in this category, they're not really doing much. It's mostly just kind of like, all right, it's a fantasy experience.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through on a linear level. I will make the argument that you are exploring it in a linear fashion. You are discovering the level as you go through it. So maybe it gets a little bit right. Like maybe we can give it just a fraction of the sort of exploration element to it. Okay, you are going through a linear world, but if you've never played it before, if it's your first playthrough, you are discovering those linear levels.
Mm-hmm.
You're discovering that boss where you have to survive for 5 seconds without taking any damage.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. I think we sort of filled out the chart. This is what this particular brand of bullet hell games is about. It's all about thrill. It's about combat mechanics, high skill.
Yeah, and it does make me wonder that about having more of a story focus or more of a progression heavy shmup. Like, how would that work? Like, I don't know if you've heard of R-Type Final by any chance.
I have not.
R-Type Final, kind of like Final Fantasy, was supposed to be the final R-Type game, and R-Type being one of the kind of the high watermark of the old school shoot 'em ups. So
Okay.
R-Type Final was done by Revn. This was looking up quickly 2003, and what they did was they just put everything in. They just basically said, you know what, we're just gonna give you like 500 ships. We don't care. This is our last game. If we had an idea for a ship, it's going in this game. So
Okay.
and like every ship was different. Everything, there was multiple endings. It's based again, like this is another one of those that's kind of considered like the holy grail for shoot 'em up fans. And
Okay.
what I was thinking about is having a shooter or a shmup that does go for more in terms of progression. There was one released on Steam, which I did not get a chance to buy at all. It's actually the most expensive of the shmups I think I've ever seen. It's a $50 price tag for it.
Okay.
And it is, where is it? Could be on my wish list. Which again, for those of you watching, my wish list has, spawned a life of its own. It's over 100 right now. So that's just going to keep growing along with all the games.
I have learned not to put things on my Steam wish list anymore. It doesn't matter; they never get bought anyways.
Where is it?
Yeah, so I guess you're talking about like how would you put progression into a bullet hell game like this? I mean, in one way you could do that through series of power ups and new mechanics. I think about like a game like we've talked about before on this show with Hades, where you sort of it's a top-down roguelike, and there's different weapons, so each weapon you play with is basically a different class, right? Different way of playing the game. You've got different move sets, and then as you progress through, you get different power-ups that give you different effects for your attacks and dodges and stuff. Your attacks now slow your enemies, or they cause them to attack each other, or things like that. So you could do something like that in a bullet hell. I feel like you could do stuff where you give the player things that they unlock as they go through the game, different weapons. You were already talking about. You got the heavy attack versus the fast attack. You can have obviously just stat progressions in terms of like how much health you have, what your move speed is, right?
Let's see. I looked
you
up.
can do some stuff. I can't think of a lot of things off the top of my head, but those would be just some basic places to start.
I did look up. It was called Darius Burst Chronicles Saviors. Now there is a franchise called Jets and Guns. That it's a very popular indie one that kind of goes where you just described. It's a roguelike shmup where every time you clear a level, you get money that you can use to buy new weapons and you outfit your character. And of the ones I think I've played, it's probably the most successful in terms of this kind of gameplay.
Okay.
And the only problem I have with it is that, again, it runs into that issue of just how much the skill versus the RPG matters. Like, for people who watched me played it, it took about 2 to 3 stages of play before I broke the game. I figured out like the best combination of weapons, and then
Okay.
nothing really mattered. We basically just had like these like disco balls shooting laser beams, reflecting off of everything. It was just basically
Okay.
shoot a disco ball, everything dies. Like there was like at that point there was no difficulty. Now
Right.
that was of course
Yeah.
early in its life,
I
but
think, yeah, I think that the trick to do there is to, in some ways, like you can have your straight progressions, like your stat, your health, um, and then like obviously, I feel like if you're increasing your character's health, that's very easy to balance with increasing how much damage the enemies do. That's just a linear progression along both sides. You try and keep both of them around the same level so that the balance
mm-hmm.
stays the same, time to kill stays the same, all that stuff. Um, the more interesting types of progression, I think, are the horizontal progressions where someone is unlocking new ways of playing the game,
Mm-hmm.
new ways of dodging or dealing with enemies, right? Um, One of my more favorite examples of a progression system that I felt was kind of like that was Shadow of Mordor. I don't know if you played that game or
Yeah.
not, but I felt that the progression system in that game, I loved it because unlocking things in that game was mainly unlocking entirely new combos, like new things you could do. You could, instead of just hitting a guy with a sword, you could I don't know. I remember you would unlock things like you could stun them, right?
Yeah.
And then once you unlock the stun, you could unlock like a stun where it was like an AOE stun. It stunned that guy and anyone next to him. Or you could unlock things where you could stun them and jump over their head. And like it starts to create new ways of playing the game, but not necessarily going to make you just completely overpowered, right?
Yeah.
And wipe through the entire thing. I felt like, if I messed up my combo, I was still going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't just press a button and delete the entire battlefield. Uh,
Yeah.
so I always liked the progression in that game. It was satisfying to like. It felt like my character was learning things. It didn't just feel like a game. It felt like, okay, he's unlocked new power within himself or within this other object or whatever.
Yeah.
So I love progression systems like that, especially in single player games.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, obviously, I'm working on Revn, which is a multiplayer competitive game, so we don't really get to do a progression system like that, where it's all about the character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is character-based progression, but it's not really like, oh, he learned this new thing. It's kind of like, you've got the resources for this new skill, and so it works because in the meta of the competitive game. But when I get to do a more single-player focused game, that's definitely the type of progression system I'd want to have. Where it feels like, okay, you've unlocked like an entirely new skill for the player,
Mm-hmm.
for the character, something that actually like adds to his arsenal. So I think that would be like the trick to doing something like that in a bullet hell game like we're talking about here. Making sure that it's okay. Maybe your ship can phase out of existence and move like 5 meters to the left or right. Like a dodge. It's like a complete just like shift. That's really powerful, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're just clearing the entire level because you could still mess that up. You could still like dodge right into another bullet, right? So you have to be careful, like you said. Like, it sounded like this game had a weapon that could just clear the entire level, and that's if there's no risk to that, then what's the point?
Yeah, like, as you were describing that, like a thought popped into my head about designing a shmup almost like an RPG, where you could have different flight systems, different dodge systems, and you kind of build your ship around it. Like you could choose between, like you said, like a phase shift, or maybe you could choose the ability to absorb like X amount bullets around you for a specific period of time, and just like almost turn your ship into like your class if you were playing like an ARPG.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. Or what if you could do? I mean, spitballing ideas. Like you could place an energy barrier that's floating in front of your ship, or maybe it stays in a certain position. It's like, okay, I'll place a shield here, and I can kind of duck behind that shield, and it can absorb so much damage. But then, I don't know what like are these 2D games? Are these top-down games? Are these 3D?
Usually they are side scrollers, although the
Okay.
cave shooters are top down.
Okay. Okay. Are you like so since it's a side scroller? Do you always have forward momentum? Are you always moving
In the
across the
traditional
screen?
ones, yes.
Okay, yeah. So I was gonna say if you weren't always moving, if you had control over whether or not you're moving through the level, you could have things like being able to place things in the world that can give you, like I don't know, placing a mini drone that helps you out and it stays over there, and I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff you could do. Um, but yeah, it also becomes a balancing nightmare. You have to be careful that you don't just make it too easy.
Yeah.
So though, I would like to talk about Payday before I
Yep.
run out of time for
Oh,
today.
yeah, definitely.
So let's do that.
I haven't
So
played Payday 2 in like I think 2 maybe 3 years, but I played it pretty extensively during its heyday. How often have
okay,
you been
yeah,
playing it?
I have not been playing a lot of it recently. I also played it like 2 or 3 years ago, quite a bit. I never got super into it. My friends were more into it than I was, but I had it. We played it, and then very recently, one of my a couple of my friends got me back into it. We played for a couple of days. Just ran a couple of heists.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been fun. So Payday. It's where do you want to start? I'm sure.
Let's see. We started in the upper right. Uh, let's start with the bomb level. Let's do it in reverse, kind of, and see.
Okay. Bottom left.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, it's definitely a co-op game. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're working with a team. Uh, you've got to revive each other. That's the wrong color. You've got to revive each other. You have, throwing down ammo bags to help each other out. I would say it's a pretty co-op heavy game. If you don't have
Yeah.
a teammate, you're not working with your team. It's not going
Yeah.
to work. So I'd say 2 levels there.
Yeah. Some of my favorite maps are those that kind of require the players to kind of go off and do their own thing, but still coordinate.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites was a stealth map that I cannot remember the name. You had to assault a mercenary base, and you have to kind of find everything you need. Key cards. You have to try and smuggle loot out through the sewer system, and it's
Mm-hmm.
entirely stealth heavy. So if the team fails or if somebody screws up, the whole team screws up.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. In terms of story, there is a story to Payday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's characters. They talk to you. There's a story to what you're doing. Um, but it's all sort of like before and after the mission and little like
Mm-hmm.
sound bites. I don't think people really play Payday for the story. I
I
think it's sort of like it's there.
I think originally, when like they were first really doing stuff with Payday 2, the story was more prominent. Like they really did focus on the principal actors, everybody, the fan favorite Hoxton,
Yeah.
characters like that. But I think the story kind of got diluted when they really went all in on games as a service. It went from
Yeah.
four bank robbers to now it's a team of super international thieves who.
Yeah, definitely. Like I came in, I was like, there's a whole cast of characters, and yeah, there's just a ton of stuff going
Mm-hmm.
on. Okay, let's talk about combat in the game. It's very combat heavy if you want to
Mm-hmm.
play it a certain way. There's definitely a lot of conflict between you and the FBI, the police, the security guards.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. It's good. It's good combat. It's satisfying. I think there's a good mix to it. You've got the shields, the stun guys, snipers.
Bulldozers, just like
Yeah,
just walk in, they just down your entire team and nobody's paying attention.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
Um,
not the best gunplay, I would say, but still pretty good. Like,
yeah, it's still pretty good. And on another note, I'll say that if we're talking about the VR version of Payday 2, which I play actually now, ever since I've gotten the Oculus, I don't even play regular Payday anymore. I just play the VR version because it has crossplay with the non ones.
mm-hmm.
And I think it's amazing in VR. Like Payday 2 VR has really good VR combat. For talking about compared to I play a good amount of like shooters in VR, and Payday 2 is pretty good. Like it's I've never had any real problems with it where I was frustrated. So I'll give it that too.
Mm-hmm.
Mechanically, I think the game does pretty well. There's a lot of good mechanics going on. It's at least a 60% importance to the player. You've got, like you're talking about, the key cards. You've got different ways of solving things. You can play it stealth. You can play it loud.
Yeah.
You've got
The various builds, the perk deck, things like that.
Yeah. There's a good amount of mechanics to it.
Yeah.
What about? Let's talk about the green area. Let's talk about the realism of the game. There's some realism. You're using real guns.
Yeah.
You're robbing real places. It's definitely also fantasy though. Like you are. There's also fantasy elements to it.
You're taking a Gatling gun and a rocket launcher into a bank. You are able to shrug off bullets if you hide behind a wall long enough. All your wounds heal.
Yeah. So I would say it has some fantasy, but it also has some realism. Neither one of those are like front and center.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not like they're hyper realistic with like, losing bullets when you reload, or I don't know, like they don't really care a lot about realism, but it's realistic, and they don't care a ton about fantasy. You don't have like all kinds of crazy fantasy things going on, and that's like a huge focus. It's just kind of like, just there's some fantasy stuff to it. Exploration, exploring the world, learning the maps, but like there's a little bit to it. Like you're kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't say there's a ton of exploration to Payday.
It's kind of. I think there is a little bit, like on like the stealth-based maps, in terms of figuring out, where the guard patrol groups are, and they do mix things up. Like on multiple of the stealth maps, they will sometimes randomize loot drops or objective goals. So it's not just a case of doing that. Although one of my favorite memories is that you can use the jammer to prevent like the police from coming in, and 4 guys with 3 jammers could sometimes just like run through an entire mission before the police would ever come. Like you can just like,
oh my God,
like it's stealth with everybody running around shooting and throwing grenades, and nobody can call the police because the jammer is up.
That's great. That's hilarious. Okay, so. Definitely has some exploration to it. It's not really like an exploration. It's not really a building game. Like you have different character builds, but you're not really influencing the world or like changing things. You're not. This isn't Minecraft, right? This isn't a.
No.
Although don't you have your safe house, which you can kind of customize a little bit?
Yeah, they've done more of that in recent years. So you can fill it with stuff. You can buy. You can get trophies that can show up in the house.
Okay. So it has. We'll sort of be like, all right, it has building, it has exploration, it has fantasy, it has realism, but those really aren't like front and center in Payday. Okay. What about skill? Is the game skill based?
I would say yes. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, they have, I think, up to like 6 different difficulty settings now. Thank you for thank you for the bless you there. And like, if you're playing that game on like Death Wish or 1 down difficulty, you have to be on point. Like, there is no way you're gonna beat it otherwise.
Okay, yeah. So let's say it has a really high skill ceiling. Like this is a game that if you're really good at it, you can go as far as you want. But it also has easy modes, so like you can play it if you're not good. So it's kind of got like a wide range of skill levels. Can appreciate the game. In terms of grind, in terms of work, this is a game where you have to have money to buy new things. So I would definitely say it has work, and having like a good work to it is pretty important. Like if you're gonna make this game good, you have to make sure that the grind is achievable, like to get the new guns, to get the new perks.
Yeah, and doing the various achievements and kind of those bonus challenges they add in, like you're going to be replaying maps a lot. And
is this a game if you don't want to do that? Is there a way to play the game without doing things over and over again?
Outside of hacking the game, just giving yourself $1 billion and all the mods, no,
not really.
And you are going to be grinding like the various. So they add in the prestige system. So every time you hit level 30, you can go back to level 1. You have like a little bit more of a bonus. And yeah, it is. I mean, the gameplay is good. I think when we talk about games that have good grinding to them, like, you're going to enjoy playing the game, but you're still going to be repeating it again and again and again. And
Yeah, yeah,
it does get to that point where a good team just operates like clockwork. They'll know exactly, okay, we're going to go over here first, do this, set the alarm. And I mean, having like 4 master level players, it can be almost like a thing of beauty watching them all complete a map together.
yeah. Okay. Finally, let's talk about the final area, multiplayer. This game is great in multiplayer.
Yeah.
I think it shines in multiplayer. Like you just said, having a full team, people who
Mm-hmm.
know what they're doing. Like the skill ceiling is really high for cooperation between your teammates.
Yeah.
Would we put that like at the 2 or the three level?
I would I would say it would be 3 because some of the
Okay.
maps that require like coordination when you're doing like 2 separate things or hunting for objects really does add. I mean, the most popular map I remember from the original Payday was Diamond Heist, which is
Mhm.
basically a 3 floor diamond robbery mission with
Oh
everyone
yeah,
having to do
yeah.
their own
I've played
thing.
that map. Yeah,
Yeah. And I don't see this game as being possible to play solo. They've done some work with AIs, but
yeah. It is possible, but it's not a good experience. It's like
yeah,
I would say, and, I'll give it the 1 point for possible, but not the like ideal experience.
yeah,
Okay. What about thrilling? Absolutely, right? Like this is
yeah.
a game where you're on the edge of your seat, wondering, are we gonna make it? Sometimes.
And again, like the sound design goes really
Oh my
well
god, yes, I
towards that.
love the
Like
soundtrack.
I
Great soundtrack,
remember,
great sound design.
yeah, I think the composer, I think his name is Simon Viklin. I remember like he did like an interview about having to create the music that can basically be designed to kind of be dynamic based on, okay, is there about to be a police wave? Are we in stealth? Is it just common, common, running around? Like one of my favorite themes he did was the Hotline Miami inspired song, which I don't remember off the top
Oh
of my
yeah,
head.
yeah. I've listened to just the soundtrack from Payday
Yeah.
too. And they also have some really like just like fun songs in there too. Have you ever listened to the Christmas album?
Oh yes.
It's hilarious. Yeah. So thrilling game. If you love action, definitely an action based game. We'll give it all 3 in that case, right? Like they tried to be like the best heist game.
Yeah.
Um, what about calm though? Are there calm moments to the game? Are you really like just like kind of just chilling at your base, hanging out with your friends without worrying about dying?
They did that with the home base mechanic, but like even the stealth missions aren't really calming because again, all it takes is for one person to be caught out of line, or one of my favorites was we spent an hour on a heist and my friend accidentally hit the grenade button, and I don't think we talked to him for like a week after that one.
Oh yeah, no. If you've just invested an hour into a stealth mission, yeah.
Well, and the best part, he said the oops before the grenade went out. So I was there, oops, and they were like, what did you do?
Oh no. Okay. So it doesn't really have a calm element to it. You don't really play it
Mm-hmm.
for just a peaceful experience. It's thrilling. It's multiplayer. It has some solo, and I think this is a pretty accurate representation of Payday 2. This is
Mm-hmm.
if you want to play this game, you're looking for a game with a skill ceiling. You're looking for a game that's about that high intensity cooperative
Mm-hmm.
thrill of a heist. Um, this is the type of game it is. If you're trying to make a game similar to it, this is sort of the things you'd be prioritizing.
Yeah. And I would say, like, if we were talking about, like, similar games or, like, similar models for the chart, like, Left 4 Dead or stuff like World War Z would
Yeah,
probably be very similar in their design
yeah. I
with
think a
this.
lot of there's like a whole genre of games where it's like a squad of up to 4 people against the
Mm-hmm.
world, trying to survive. Um, Vermintide, Vermintide 2
Oh,
was
yes.
another game. that I have played in the last few years. I don't remember how many hours of Vermintide 2 I played. Again, it was one of those games where my friends played it, so I played it with them.
Yeah.
I think it fits a very similar model of, like multiplayer, thrill, it's skill, you're doing the levels over and over again. I would say with Vermintide, probably the differences would be more fantasy and maybe more story. And I haven't played it in a while, but I want to say maybe less mechanics.
Yeah, it's definitely more RPG focused. I think to
Yeah.
some extent to a detriment. That
Yeah,
like
that was sort of why I didn't really get into
yeah.
it. I played Vermintide because my friends wanted to play it, but I would kind of say if I was to like very quickly just like here I'll duplicate this layer and be like, hey, this is Vermintide. Uh, here, this is Vermintide. Vermintide has maybe more story, right? In my opinion, the story seemed to be a little bit more there. Hold on, why are you like this? Go. And the mechanics were maybe there just wasn't as many mechanics in Vermintide that I remember. It was kind of like you had like one or two attacks and like you had like three things you could do. There wasn't a lot going on
You
when
had
I played it.
yeah, the classes kind of dictated things a little bit more, but Payday
Yeah,
2 I think was more free form in terms of how you could
definitely.
build your character.
Payday felt like you had a lot more ways to build your character. You had way more weapons to choose from, more like perks. Again, I think I played more Payday than I played a Vermintide, but it definitely felt like it has more mechanics. And I would, but like they both have, a lot of the other same things. Co-op and multiplayer. It's just a constant battle against the world and waves of enemies, and trying to get through them and get to the objective, right? Um, Again, like and also like obviously fantasy because Vermintide being a Warhammer game, totally, definitely a lot more fantasy going on here, right?
Oh
You
yes.
got this massive world to draw from, and maybe they don't really have that sort of building element as far as I remember, unless they added stuff. But like there wasn't even like a home base really to like customize. So there's sort of your difference between them is that Vermintide, you sort of shift your focus over to context instead of mechanics, and you shift your focus into fantasy instead of having a home base. But otherwise, they're very, very similar. So you probably would enjoy both games if you enjoyed one or the other.
Yeah, and the one that's kind of like everyone's keeping an eye out on. Oop, I just hit everything there with my leg. Is a GTFO, which is being done by I think the one of the designers of Payday 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that
That's
one
cool.
is in early access, and I don't know much else about it at the moment. But we have seen, I think this will be kind of where we'll start to wrap things up. Like, if you're designing like a good co-op based game,
Yep.
I think like what we have here in terms of those metrics are very important to hit. Like it has to be a game where it's the strength of the group versus the strength of the individual. There has to be progression. There has to be, these games aren't normally designed around elaborate stories or a fixed campaign. So
Right, because you're going to be doing the same missions
yeah,
over and over again. So the mission can't just stand on the fact of a gripping story. Because once you've seen it,
yeah,
right? Like I love, the story of The Witcher 3. Would I play the same quest 10 times in a row in 1 week? No.
yeah.
You know?
Um,
Um, hey,
and
Catfish, how's it going? Um,
and for
so yeah, exactly. But with Payday, with
yeah,
Vermintide, you're not playing it because you want to like hear the story of how you're fighting back against the Ratmen or robbing the bank. It's like I'm playing this because the experience of survival with my friends is so good.
yeah.
I'm playing it because I want to grind and get that shiny new weapon or perk
Yeah.
or skin. Um,
Um,
so yes, if you're making these type of games, those are the things to focus on, I think.
yeah. And for people watching, one other example, we played this a few months ago on stream, Deep Rock Galactic, which is like
I've heard a lot. I've seen that game. I love what
yeah.
I see about it. I've never played it. Is it as good as it looks?
Yes, we played this. I want to say yes with the caveat that we haven't played this in like 5, 6 months. So I don't know what they've done. I know they are either officially at 1.0, or they are like knocking on 1.0 right now. Let's see.
Okay.
They are early access. Uh, I think it's like very, very close to being officially 1.0.
I
And
recently saw some more ads from them or more posts from them on Twitter. Like it's a game I've been following for a
mhm.
while. I love their graphic style, their like sense of humor. I'm like, this game looks like a lot of fun. So if I can get a group of friends who want to play it, I'm sure I'll play it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's ultimately the challenge. I think it's something, again, like with your work in Revn, you're also thinking about the fact that these games are multiplayer dependent. So if you don't have three friends, or Left 4 Dead's case, you need at least seven for the versus mode. If you can't get your friends together, it's very hard, I think, to justify playing these games by yourself or with random people.
mm.
Yeah, that was one of the things that kind of drove me away from Payday. Was my friends all got tired of it, and I didn't really like wanting to play with random people who'd be yelling and screaming and cursing. And
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's totally a huge part of it. Like, I mean, I've been playing a lot of League of Legends lately. I honestly I got back into it like 2 weeks ago because I wanted to do some research. Right. I was like, I just want to play like one or two matches just to like I wanted to because it'd been a while. I wanted to jog my memory on how some of the mechanics work, and things like that. Just for research as I'm building a MOBA. Right. And then I started playing it, and then like one person in my Discord server was like, "Oh, you play League of Legends? Here, let me join you."
oh
And then
no.
another person joined, and then another person joined, and within like 1 hour, I had like a whole group of like 5 people on a Discord call with
Ugh.
me, and we're like, "All right, we're 5 stacking now. We got a full team, no randoms," and that was great. Like, and then I was like, "Okay." The next day, like the same thing happened. Like they started asking me, like, "Hey, are we gonna play League of Legends tonight?" So that has basically become my evening activity now. Is if I'm not doing anything else or like I'm done working on Revn, I need a break. I just log on League of Legends, and before I know it, someone in my Discord server's joining me. So like that is like the best way to play those types of games. Those are cooperative or just even team games. League is like totally a team game, and I totally get what you're saying because like I was talking about my friend talking about with my friend Wes about League because he and I started playing League together last year, and we got to level 30. We just started playing competitive, and then we both kind of stopped playing because we were tired of playing with 3 other random people and feeling like, oh, we're losing because there's only 2 of us. And what can we do if 1 or 2 of them suck, or they
Mhm.
don't communicate with us? Um, so like I think the best way to build those types of games is to really make it a game that you stay invested in because your friends are invested in it.
Mhm.
And there's things you can do to make that experience attractive to groups of people. It's having that customization of feeling like having those skins you can buy that you show off to your friends because you actually know those friends that you're showing your shiny skin to. I think if I buy a skin in League or in Revn or Payday, and my friends are playing it, that feels a lot better because like I'm showing my friends that this is who I am rather than just showing it to random people. I
Mhm.
feel like it matters so much more when you're like buying skins and customizing your character's perks when you're sharing that experience with other people outside of the game or even you just met them through the game. Because it builds that like personal connection between you and that person and also the product.
Mhm. Yeah, and when you don't, like you said, like if you lose, like if your friends stop playing with you in League or at Payday 2, you kind of lose a huge reason to load those games up.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if I didn't have anyone to play League with right now, I don't think I'd be playing it as much as I do. I would be. Well, that's why I stopped playing Payday. Like I hadn't been playing it for years until one of my friends, Mudkip, was like, "Hey, man, I'm turning on Payday." And I was like, "Oh, shoot, I've got that game. Let's play it." Um, so I think as a designer, you just really have to keep your players hooked, right? You have to
Mhm.
provide that experience that they're just going to keep playing it because there's always more stuff for them to do. And then you also have to accept that sometimes they will need a break from your game. They just have too many toxic matches. They run out of content. They just do everything. And then you just got to make sure you have a way to reach out to them and let them know that you've got new content, whether that be, Twitter posts or Steam news updates. You just be like, hey, we've added a new champion. We added a new map, a new level to the Payday.
Mhm.
And that is usually a pretty good way to bring people back in after, maybe they love the game, but they just ran out of stuff to do, or they needed a reason to come back and give it another try.
And I think there's definitely probably a podcast discussion about having like those events and keeping people invested in a game long term. Was Payday for a time they had like their annual like mega events where it had like a week of updates. I think they eventually had a Payday Con, which I don't know how well that was.
Really, I did not know about that. That's pretty cool.
But here's if you want to mark this out, I think for next time we haven't discussed that. I would love to do Monster Hunter, like speaking about like multiplayer, single player, like grindy kind of games.
That'd be cool. It'd be cool to talk about like a sort of an MMO style game like that. We haven't talked about that yet on this show, so definitely, let's do Monster Hunter, and we'll think of some other games. If anyone watching has games that they want us to talk about, let us know, because we need ideas. We need games to talk about, right?
But I think with that, let us wrap things up for this episode. So we will be back next month. We try to shoot this for like the first week of each month. We kind of had delay with Silas doing the 24-hour stream last week, but we try to shoot these for like the first Monday. And
so that'd be June 1st. I think we should be able to do it. I don't see any reason I can't. So I'll put that on my calendar. We'll talk about Monster Hunter. We'll talk about some other games. My final plug for myself is I'm the creative director over at Project Ambitious Games. We're making a third-person MOBA shooter called Revn. Posters, as you can see in the back of my room. We're trying to set up a merch store soon. We are currently on Indiegogo trying to get funding to finish the game. We are currently 43% funded. We got 30 more days left to raise a few $1,000s so that we can get the game up into open beta and ship it out to you guys. It's currently in closed alpha, so if you haven't checked it out already, you can get access to the game now without spending a cent. If you buy a Founders Pack, you get exclusive skins that will never be available again. Talking about skins earlier. We also have some pretty exciting news. I don't know if I shared this with you, Josh. Did I get a chance to talk to you about our dedicated server funding that we got?
We did during the Saturday night, but not like as one of these shows.
Okay. All right. I do think we did talk about it a little bit. So we are very lucky that we got a gift, a donation from our friends over at the Friday Gaming Assistant company. They gave us a very large, generous donation towards our servers. So actually, our dedicated servers on Amazon are totally funded for the foreseeable future for as many players and specs that we need. So we're in a really good position there where we've got the servers ready to go. Financially, we just need to build them, which is what the rest of the Indiegogo money is for, is to hire developers to build the servers. So we're in a really good place there. And if anyone watching this wants to check that out, I'll put a link or something over in chat right now.
All right.
Yeah, that's me. You can follow me on Twitter at Silas_Tally. I talk about like coffee, motorcycles, and video games. That's about it. You can't find Revn. It's Revn. There's just one E in it. Catfish, I saw you commenting on my room in chat. I don't know what was up with that, man. I like my bedroom. I've been decorating it a little bit recently, adding some more stuff to the walls. I'm willing to take suggestions. If you feel like it's boring, I'm always trying to spice it up. Hi, Ian. How's it going? Recently added some more lights to it. Been trying to make things a little more cozy in here. Oh, you said it is your type? I could have swore you said it was like not your type.
I think he said it was dull, but was also his type as well.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was I took that as like as criticism. I was like, oh, it's boring. You don't like it. I'm very minimalistic is definitely my style. I like things that are functional, and that's about it. I don't go too crazy at things.
All right. I think what you should do, of course, you need to get like some mood lighting going. We always thought you need some fog machines back there.
Fog machines, right. Let me. Mood lighting, I do have though. Let me.
Yeah, that's right, Cap. Shag carpet.
Shag carpet, yes, shag
Mm-hmm.
carpet. We do have mood lighting.
Oh, nice. Well,
There
you
you go.
beat me then.
um, which is pretty fun. This was a gift from my mom for Easter. I think so we have mood lighting. We do have that.
Nice.
Shag carpet we don't have. I'll have to see if that fits in the budget.
We're all very impressed by mood lighting here, like on these streams. Like whenever somebody has, it's like, ooh.
Yeah, it's like it's just a stereotype now. It's like it's a staple of being a streamer is having colored lighting. It's part of like the streamer YouTuber brand. I think at this point, you've got your RGB keyboard, you've got your mood lighting, and now I guess I've got that too.
There you go. And for people watching me, you can follow me on Twitter at GWBicer. We have the Game Wisdom Discord open to everybody, linked down below, as well as our Patreon. You can check out the books that I've written down there as well. And I will be back later tonight for our regular game streaming. But that will do it for this month's episode. Silas, as always, it was a pleasure hanging out with you this Monday. Again, congratulations on getting the server financing, and good luck with the rest of the Indiegogo.
All right, thank you very much, Josh. I'll talk to you later.
All right, everybody, have a great rest of your night, and I will see you later. And come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where is in the art and science of games. See you all later for our game stream.